It's time for the big story. And we understand there are no winners yet in the Cayman elections that were recently held. That is what we want to be focusing on. The Cayman Islands election has resulted in an inconclusive outcome, with no single party or group securing a clear majority. The independents, particularly J.E. Banks in North Side and Isaac Rankin in East End, are poised to be the kingmakers in the formation of a new government. So, by way of a breakdown, we understand that the People's Progressive Movement, PPM, they secured 7 seats. Cayman Islands National Party, they secured 4 seats. They lost leader Dan Scott in the Cayman BRAC, but gained a surprise win with Julie Hunter, ending McKeever Bush's 40-year parliamentary run. Can you imagine that? The Caymanian Community Party, they got 4 seats. The independents, as we mentioned, J.E. Banks and Isaac Rankin, are holding significant influence, and they had key wins in eastern districts. Meanwhile, Chris Saunders in Bodden Town has also retained his seat as an independent. But we want to get much more details from a man who is on the ground, so to speak, right there in our Caribbean neighbor, the Cayman Islands. And we want to say good morning and welcome to journalist with the Cayman Compass, Andrel Harris. Good morning to you, Andrel. How are you doing today, my brother?
I am good, and good morning to you and your listeners as well.
Thank you so very much for joining us at this time. Glad to have you. Now, Andrel, there's still inconclusive results from the elections. What can you tell us this morning by way of an update?
Well, I have a massive update for you, and that is, although no party won an outright majority, the Cayman Islands Community Party and the Cayman Islands National Party, together with the independent candidates, came together in the 11th hour yesterday and formed a coalition government, of which the leader of the Cayman Islands Community Party, Mr. Andre Ebanks, is slated to head up and become the next premier. Now, the governor confirmed this by way of an official post on social media and a press release, stating that she had met with the group and that they had declared that they, in line with the Constitution, that they had formed the majority and now intended to proceed with the swearing in of a premier and his cabinet.
That is a major development that happened, shall we say, overnight.
Oh, absolutely. And this is not outside the character of Cayman Islands politics. 3 election cycles ago, the Progressives, who still hadn't claimed an outright majority, did the exact same tactic. While everyone was still out and about celebrating on election night, they were quietly going around gathering members to form their coalition government. The cycle after that, the independents did flip the cards on the Progressives and did the same thing to them. And now we're seeing where 2 parties have come together with the independents to exclude the Progressives and make a run to the House of Parliament.
Mm-hmm. Can you just remind me of the name of the leader that has emerged in this coalition?
Yes, it is a gentleman by the name of Mr. Andre Ebanks.
Did you say Ebanks?
Yes,
okay.
Andre Ebanks.
Yes.
He is now. So what is interesting is that he was a part of the previous coalition government, but halfway through that government, it fell apart, leaving a minority government as Mr. Ebanks and 3 other ministers walked away from that group. Mm-hmm. Mr. Ebanks, all but 1 of the 4 that walked away retained their seat in this go-around. And so what's interesting is now that he departed from that group and started his own, but wasn't able to get a clear outright majority. But he somehow convinced the other group that also had only 4 members to actually step forward and make a coalition government in what appears to be a deliberate attempt to stifle the PPM-led government.
Serious major political move. What can you tell us about the elections themselves? I mean, was there good voter turnout? About how many people might have voted? Was there any pre-election violence, anything of that nature? What can you tell us about the elections in the Cayman Islands?
Well, let us start by saying that the Cayman Islands elections have been known for its relatively high voter turnout, averaging anywhere from 80 to 70%, and absolutely no violence whatsoever. Perhaps the closest degree of violence might be a candidate who was warned by police that they're at the polling stations for too long and then ran away.
Okay.
So as far as violence is concerned, absolutely none.
Thank God.
I was deployed at the command center yesterday and pulled a full 24-hour shift. So I think the greatest issue is perhaps the time it takes to count the ballots. But what might go down as the single defining moment of this election was the ousting of veteran politician and former father of the House, a man who served as Speaker of the House, leader of the government business, and the very first Premier of the Cayman Islands, Mr. McKeever Bush. He was ousted by first-time runner Miss Julie Hunter in West Bay West, which, and mind you, by a slim 19 votes.
Oh, my goodness. Will there be a magisterial recount? Do you think that result will hold?
It will most likely stand, because part of the reason why the numbers took so long to come back yesterday was because there was a recount called for. And interestingly enough, another reason why the elections ran over well into the 4 o'clock, the counting ran into the 4 o'clock hours of the morning was because we had a referendum running simultaneous to the national elections, a non-binding referendum, which asked the voters 3 questions: whether or not we should build cruise birthing facilities, whether or not we should decriminalize small amounts of consumption and possession of cannabis, ganja, and or whether or not we should institute a national lottery. The votes for that was tremendously overwhelming within their various directions, that being a very, very significant no to the building of a cruise birthing facility, whereas on the opposite side, a massive support for the introduction of a national lottery and the decriminalization of small possession and consumption of ganja.
And that would be like ounces they're talking in terms of the weed.
Yes. So in essence, right now, if you're found with any small possession, obviously there is some discretion on a police officer as to whether or not they should caution you or warn you. And then it all boils down to, the interest of justice. Is this really worth the country's time and effort to put the full force of the DPP's office to prosecute someone for a split? Absolutely not. So in this instance, it's more than likely that if you're caught with it, much like how speeding, you might get a ticket for it. What it's shaping up to be is more than likely if you're caught with ganja, you would probably get a ticket as opposed without it going on your criminal record. Now, if you're caught with large amounts of ganja, then obviously that's a matter for the courts. And part of the issue we see is that there are too many Caymanians who got caught with small possessions, but now can no longer travel for work or for studies or whatever the case might be. So massive implications. But the caveat in all of this is that it is a non-binding referendum. So the government, the new government, Mr. Ebanks' government that's taking form, isn't forced to go with what the population voted for.
I got you. Now, I want to spend a little bit more time, Andrel, talking about McKeever Bush and his loss. I mean, it is a significant loss and a surprise to many. What are some of the factors you think might have contributed to his demise?
Well, let's say that Mr. Bush has had, it's the classic saying, if you live too long, you go from being a hero to a villain. And that is perhaps the best way to describe his political career. Mr. Bush has made significant strides and contribution to the Caymanian people, to the Cayman Islands' economy, and to our neighbors. I've been on foreign aid trips where people have sang his praise from all throughout the Caribbean, and his efforts and humanitarian aid that he provides not just to his people but to other people throughout the region, and his ability to quickly make connections and operate in a manner that allows for steady and consistent progress. So in his political sphere, he is truly a master of his craft. I think what has caused his demise is in his personal life. And Mr. Bush has been embattled in quite a lot of serious criminal cases over the years, most recently. Now, Mr. Bush not being able to speak for himself, I would put forward his defense, which is that he has constantly asserted that there was a plot to oust him because he will not toe the line of foreign imposed leadership by way of the UK's Foreign and Commonwealth Office, and that his desire is to see the betterment of Cayman, and so there's a vendetta against him. Unfortunately, the charges that are coming forward are things that show him on camera in physical altercation with women, with several women coming forward accusing him of heinous crimes, such as rape, which he was cleared of, assault, and for which he was convicted. So there's a slew of different things that have happened in his personal life, mind you, all while intoxicated, which has cast significant
negative
inference on his stature and on the very position that he held. I mean, he was stripped of his honorable title by the UK and revoked, with his MBE revoked. He was stripped of an honorary doctorate. And so there are several things that I don't want to say negated or countered the good he did, but certainly cast a different light on him. And what we found was that in this voter turnout, there were two things. One, there were a larger group of expatriates who had completed the process of finally becoming Caymanian and earning the right to vote, as well as an upswelling of the younger voters who want no part in that kind of behavior and have no tolerance for it and could care less for your political deeds and triumphs and wins.
Yes.
They're judging a man by his character.
Yes.
And so what we saw was this new introduction of new voters who have no connection with Mr. McKeever, who didn't grow with him and in his political career. And so they're now taking him based on his merits as they appear in front of him. And I think that is really and truly what eventually led to his demise, especially because he was replaced. A veteran politician, a 40-year span, mind you, not to show my age, but I've not seen 40 years, not yet.
Yes.
And so for that span to be cut short by a newcomer, so to say, speaks volumes. And I really do think it was a combination of those factors, combined with the additional stresses of a rising economy, a rising cost of living, frustration for many Caymanians who can no longer afford to buy a home, who feel like they can no longer afford to retire in their own country, who feel like they can't get adequate work, who feel like the salaries that they're being paid just simply leaves them in a position of living month to month, hand to mouth. So all those factors, I think, is what contributed.
Got you. Thank you so much for that viewpoint. Now, I mean, the name Akiva Bush is kind of synonymous with Cayman Islands, and many people are quite surprised this morning to hear that. But at least he can walk away saying, "Well, I only lost by 19 votes, for God's sake." It was not too bad a beating in the end.
No, it wasn't. And, but I mean, some of the grumblings that Mr. Bush has put forward in light of his defeat is that he now believes more than likely the concept of single-member constituencies, one man, one vote, one person, one vote, is ultimately what led to his demise, and he now believes that, perhaps it's time to do away with it.
Yeah, okay.
I think too little, too late in that regard.
Understood. Now, I know it's early days yet because we were thinking that we're coming on this morning to speak about the inconclusivity of the elections, but we are, in fact, through you, learning that there is a leader that has emerged in Andre Banks. Has there been any announcement whatsoever in terms of ministerial appointments or even speculation for that matter?
Oh, yeah, the rumor mills are rife with speculations, but, perhaps the largest speculation out of this is that the deputy leader of the party, so let's just take it a step back. Remember, there was the Cayman Community Party, which Mr. Ebanks headed up, and then there was the Cayman Islands National Party, which was headed up by a man named Mr. Dan Scott, who unfortunately didn't secure his seat. Now, the deputy leader in the Cayman Islands National Party is a guy called Mr. Gary Rutty. Now, Mr. Gary Rutty secured his seat, and with the merger of the two groups, Mr. Ebanks remains as the premier designate, and Mr. Rutty is now stepping in as the deputy premier designate as they marry these two political parties together. There are speculations that some of the other candidates, such as Mr. J. Ebanks from North Side, is likely to retain some of the ministerial posts that he had before, that being Ministry of Transport, Ministry of the Roads, and I believe Mr. Isaac Rankin is slated to receive a ministry as well. But again, way too early to confirm any of those details, separate and aside from the two leading positions, because ultimately there's still a good degree of horse trading going on. And I'll also caveat all of what I've said by saying 2 election cycles ago, we were in this exact same position where by day we had one government declared and by night a new government had formed, completely separate from the first one.
Wow.
So the volatile nature of Cayman politics is such that nothing is set in stone until they've approached the House and signed and the ink is dry.
Got you.
So it's too early.
Got you loud and clear. Andrel Harris, you've really given us all that we would have needed this morning in terms of an update on the results of the election and the very latest, as a matter of fact, on it this morning. I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts, and I wish you all the best. I hope we got a chance to have another conversation with you sometime in the near future. All the best to you, and thanks again.
Thank you. Right.
All right, all the best. That's Andrel Harris, ladies and gentlemen. He's a journalist with the Cayman Compass television, and he was our guest inside of The Big Story. Quite an interesting development over there in the Cayman Islands, and we thank him again for coming on and sharing with us.